Episode 22 of my Warhammer Conquest review series, where I review Games Workshops Warhammer Conquest collectible part build series. Today I'm reviewing issue 22. I'm just going to open that up. There's no plastic crack in this episode, sadly. Just the magazine itself, some Astro Granite, and a medium base paintbrush. Now, the Astro Granite retails at $4.55, although I understand there's going up to $4.75 shortly, and this, which is a medium base brush, retails at $4.75 at the moment. I don't know if the prices on the base brushes are going up. For those who've missed it, GW did announce a price hike on several of its models, not particularly much, and on several of its boxes and paints. The paints are going up by 20p a pot, and some of the big army collect boxes are going up by prices. But at prices at the time of the release, you're talking £9.30 for these two, and £7.99 for Warhammer Conquest, meaning you're saving a whole £1.31. Obviously, that's nowhere near as big as some of the savings we've had. Some of the savings we have been pretty damn amazing. But at the same time, Astro Granite is usable by pretty much everyone, and paintbrushes are usable by pretty much everyone. Worth noting, the original paintbrush you got with the first set wasn't actually a proper paintbrush. It wasn't actually a standard GW paintbrush. It was a plastic paintbrush that flexed. This is not. This is the standard wooden GW paintbrush that you buy from the site. It's got a large thing. It's a medium basing brush. Basically, you'd use this to paint Primaris Marines, Orcs, and things a little larger to put your base coat on, which makes it fantastic for doing that, or for doing areas and effects on, for doing small details and effects on vehicles. Either way, it's a great paintbrush and handy to have in your arsenal. The Astro Granite, on the other hand, not as useful because it's a texture paint. If you want to have a granite effect or a gritty effect on the base of your models, that's what this does. I may do a video later. As a matter of fact, I almost certainly will do a video later showing how to use this. I've seen it used in two ways. There's no wrong way to use it, but either way is great. But basically, it gives a gritty, granite-looking texture on the base of your model. As in most of the paints, you don't have to leave it grey. You can paint over and dry brush it and wash it and make it a different colour once it's dry. But as I say, it's only really good if you want a concretey, granite-looking effect on the base of your models. If you don't, put it aside and hopefully you will at some point. But that being said, that's still useful to a lot of people, particularly if you're going to be following the instructions in these books, because they'll almost certainly use it. Right, now let's get onto the magazine itself. As always, some fantastic cover art. Totally digging the purple this week. Sorry, very tired. Apologise for the twitching. We're starting off with the signature from our spiritual liege, Ian. Then we move on to Codex Astartes. You may hear me call it Codex Astartes, or call them Adeptus Astartes. This is down to a misspelling that I read when I was a kid, and despite the fact that the next time I read it, it was spelt right, because basically a friend wrote down an army list, it's now stuck in my head. It's the first time I ever saw the word. Somebody misspelt it as Astartes instead of Astartes instead of Astartes, and I can't get that out of my head. Same as first time I read the words the Horus Heresy. For some reason, Heresy. I read them as the Horus Hearsay. God knows what that was. It's probably something that happened in the Imperium at some point. But every now and then, my brain just slips back to the childish thing, which is probably why I still play models. I love this game. Anyway, it basically gives us a description of the Codex Astartes, which is, if you're unaware, the manual for how to be a Space Marine. It's got all the rules and laws and things like that you follow. It's also the name of the rule books that you get. They're all called codexes. Yeah. Even the Spaces one is Codex Spatials. So that's quite cool as well. It goes into explain what the Codex Astartes is and where it came from. The basic thing being that prior to the Great Horus Heresy, just did it there because I was saying it, Marines existed in legions of 10,000 Marines. And all you had to do was sway one man to have a legion big enough to carve out a mini empire on your side. All it took was the swaying of 10 men, sorry, I think it was actually 9 men, to all but destroy the empire, and that took them 10,000 years to rebuild it, and what they've rebuilt is nowhere near as good as what it was originally supposed to be. If you haven't read any of the Black Library Heresy novels, I totally recommend it. Start with some of the first ones. They give you a great idea of what it was supposed to be and what was lost in it. You may not get to the end because there are so many of them. It is quite literally the most ambitious literary project ever undertaken. To have dozens, it's got dozens upon dozens of books, all set in the same worldview, all set in the same universe, and all written by different authors. It's pretty fantastic, but it is a hell of a lot of reading. And I love reading. I read all the time. And even I'm sitting there going, I'm going to read something else now. But they're all really great books. I recommend read the first few, like Horus Rising and stuff like that. And then just dip into the guys you're interested in. Like if you're like Space Marines, Prospero Burns and stuff like that are really good. Space Marines, Spatials. Prospero Burns is great. If you want to know where the amazing Robert Gilliman was during all this heresy, the Betrayal at Calth is both a fantastic book and a fantastic game. Moving on, it tells you that it gives you a different. It gives you a brief description of some of the deviant chapters. Deviations among chapters, differences in GTC and training, often differences in Space Marine chapters. Over millennia, combat with the same foe, cultures adapt. Basically, if you're always fighting orcs, you'll adapt your strategies to be better at beating orcs. If you're always fighting Necrons, you'll adapt your strategy to be better at beating Neeks. The Codex Astartes is treated by some chapters as an absolute hard and fast rule. It's treated by other chapters as a base guideline on which they built their own personal chapters. It gives you 3 examples of chapters there. The Ultramarines, who are what we call chapter adherent. The Salamanders, who are a deviated chapter. They, for example, only have 7 great companies, which it says here. 7 naval settlements. They have 7 companies. The Scout Company instead, and the Scout Company doesn't live in the Fortress of Modesty. Instead, lives in the mountain ranges. So that's a deviation from standard Codex Astartes as well. Iron Hands have an intense hatred of weakness in all forms. They view their flesh as weakness and strive to replace it. The chapter has no chapter master. Instead, they're ruled by a council of 10 company leaders, each company being strongly independent, and each recruits its own scouts and has its own fleet. Again, similar to the way Space Wolves do it, but uniquely Iron Hands. So again, there's another chapter that deviates from it. However, it does. You will find the vast majority of chapters go by the Codex Astartes, even if only because it's a great place to start your army doctrine. They then tend to deviate afterwards. Some, like Space Wolves, completely ignore it. Others, as I say, like Salamanders and Iron Hands, they have a rough eye on it, but they do their own thing as well. Following that, we've got Death Guard, Chronicles of Virulence, which gives you a nice story about the Death Guards. It Into Damnation. The destroyer during Horus has a mortality and his troops are trapped in the warp and afflicted by terrible pain. Oh yeah, it basically tells you how the Death Guard were born on this one. And how they were corrupted over to Nurgle, and that's pretty fucking cool, pardon my language. It's not a full story. You'll find in a lot of the codexes and a lot of other places, they don't give you a full running story. Instead, you get little bits like this, which are important, fundamentally. I can't think of the words. My brain. You know, they're core narrative periods. They're things that happen in the Death Guard that shape how the Death Guard function, as opposed to, you know, Blighty Billy went to pee and his willy fell off. You know, it tells you where they came from, what they did, how they took part in the Black Crusade, and all things like that. Then we've got the Great Crusade. That there is a bloke called the Emperor of Mankind. A bloke so powerful that when the word bearers didn't do what he said, he got them all onto the planet, walked onto the planet and said kneel, and they all did. They didn't want to, they wanted to stand, they wanted to give him the middle finger, but he said kneel, and they literally had no choice. The guy had enough psychic power to force an entire chapter to its knees, an entire legion, 10,000 Marines to their knees. So you've got these amazing super soldiers, nothing can stop them. You've got a Primarch, an immortal demigod of a being, and the Emperor just went down, bitches, and they all went down. Apologies for the use of the word bitches there, but it gives you an idea of literally how he just smacked them down. This gives you a nice brief description here of the Great Crusade and what it was about. Goes on to the next page, another 2-page thing with a brief description of who the Emperor is. Again, if you read a lot of the Horus heresy books, there's a lot more detail in it. It's worth noting that the majority of the detail that they put in about the Emperor is from the perspective of the fallen Primarchs, and a lot of it comes from the Chaos Gods. So, whilst a lot of people go, oh, I read it in a GW book, it's canon now. It's only canon from A, the perspective of people that didn't like the Emperor, and B, from stories told by gods that are supposedly, you know, Zench, for example, tells 1,000 things, and they're all lies, and they're all the truth. Slaanesh is a keeper of secrets and a twister of words. Nurgle and Khorne all have their own little biases, and all of them wanted to kill the Emperor and hated the Emperor. So there's a lot of detail, but it's only canon for a given degree of canon. And there's other bits coming out. They've come out in Codex, they've come out in stories. Along with Codex, there's some stories that came out with the Dark Imperium box set, stories following that, which have Gilliman talking to the Emperor and give you an idea of who and what he's like. But again, they're all from perspective, and GW has said every single story they've got is about the Emperor is someone's opinion, and may be true and may be a complete lie. I think primarily to give themselves the ability to wreck on anything how they like. But Emperor is awesome, and certainly an interesting character throughout the world of throughout the Imperium. We've got descriptions here of the worlds of the Imperium. We had some in the last one. Here's some more. We've got mining worlds, research stations / fortress worlds, and death worlds. On the next page, feral worlds and feudal worlds, and worlds that have been destroyed by the exterminators. Got a nice picture of planet cracking. For those of you who are unaware, every now and then somebody with relevant authority, an Inquisitor, a High Lord of Terror, maybe a Chapter Master will rule that a world is so overrun with enemies or corrupt or damaged or heretical that there's no point saving it. And with the same sort of mentality of cutting your leg off to save your body, they'll destroy the world to save the rest of the Imperium. It does mean thousands or millions of innocents get wiped out along with the guilty, but the Imperium is not a happy, fun place. Here we've got a lovely bit here, how to paint bases using your Astro Granite, using your medium base brush. If you're going to use a medium base brush to paint Astro Granite, and it's a perfectly fine tool, make sure to have water by and make sure to wash it thoroughly, and make sure to put some of the Astro Granite onto a palette or an easel or something, a palette or a box top or something that you can get it off freely, because if the little bits of crud get into this little collar here, it will cause your bristles to do that, at which point the brush is fucked. You can't really use it for anything except maybe applying PVA, and even then it won't do a very good job. So brilliant product. Don't get me wrong, I'm not slagging on the product. The product is great. You just need to make sure, if you're going to apply it with a medium brush, you take care to keep the medium brush clean and keep it out there. Or head into GW, they have a little plastic tool about the size of a brush but with a flat head on the end, which in my opinion is much better for applying Astro Granite. Costs a little more, but yeah, I'd retire this tool and use GW's actual spreading tool. It does what it says it does. It also, yep, there you go. There you go. It's got you. Where are we? If you look carefully at the photo, so I'm bending it a bit here, you can see that again they've kind of avoided getting it right to the end, and you can see they even say you can use a cocktail stick, which you can, or you can use. There are a bunch of modelling, of clay modelling tools. If you've been modelling green stuff or that, a bunch of those will allow you to spread it. But pretty much the best thing I found is actually the the GW spreader, where it's flexible and flat. You can literally just lay it on like you were laying plaster. Yeah, again, you can see I'm showing you how to use it, how to apply it to bases, and things like that. It's also quite good because you'll see here it builds up quite nicely over the flight bases and helps blend them in to the base quite well. It's also worth noting, you can see here some of it's gone on there. If you keep a bit of tissue paper or a cotton bud by, if it goes somewhere you don't want it to, it is actually fairly easy to get off. As long as you get it while it's still wet, you can just literally wash it off. Gently damp the water off and you can go again. It is very easy to work with and very instinctive actually. Again, Death Guard, Astro Granite for the Death Guard. Loads of ways of doing, and loads of ways of doing that, and even Astro Granite for all you guys, yeah. And just in case you're wondering, that is roughly what you should have now. Nurgle has a lot more models, but the Primaris have a lot more bad guys. Here we go. In this mission, we've got another mission in the back called Supply Our Drop Down, or Supply Drop Down, which is pretty cool. Which looks pretty cool. Sorry, I haven't even got the mission yet. And again, this is using the large set we already got. The large battle map we already got. Opposite side from last week, but nice cool thing. Gives you 2 armies, gives you some cool victory conditions, and some cool stuff like that. No extra rules here so far. Some rules on using, some basic pointers to use the additional terrain on that one. Then we've got the next mission, they often have 2. Defending the spoils of war, and this one is much more of a basic smash each other up mission with your armies, your deployment, and your victory conditions. And your last page again telling you all the cool places you can go and look for Warhammer-y stuff. And now we get to the bit I know a lot of you look forward to. It's actually quite interesting this week as well. First off, we've got a repeat of last week where it shows us we're going to get a bunch of scenery, which is going to make our boards a lot more interesting and provide a lot more stuff to play with and play around. And then, and here's where it gets interesting, your Redemptor Dreadnought, Part 1, which seems to confirm something that both I and a lot of other people who've been doing reviews were guessing, and what I know a lot of you were also guessing, which is it looks like they're going to be breaking down the big vehicles and the big stuff into multiple parts. It doesn't show me which part of the Dreadnought we're getting this week. That week rather, on the 24th, but it does say learn about Dreadnoughts, discover Death Guard Hellbrutes, so it's telling you about the Death Guard version of Dreadnought. I really hope Death Guard have their own Hellbrutes. I mean, the current model of the Hellbrute is awesome, but to be honest, it's very much in line with the Cornate visual sensibilities. It'd be nice to see the Death Guard getting their own Hellbrute model, looking much more like a Great Unclean one. Although there is a bit of a possibility it might look a bit Gorka Morka then. And some exciting new missions. Yep, it's not giving us any specific details. It's just showing us the gun, the front, and the machine gun. Maybe that's what they give us. Maybe part 1 contains the top half, part 2 contains the legs. I don't know where they're going after that, and I don't know how long we're going to have to wait before we get a fully functional Contemptor, but it'll be interesting. Yeah, these things are beautiful. Bear with me a second. Oh, I'm in my back room, so I can actually do this. Here's a random. Sorry, I'm in my gaming room. Here's a random one of my dudes. Here is a Contemptor Dreadnought. As you can see, the comparative size difference is much bigger than it was with the standard Dreadnoughts. This guy is huge. Give you another idea, which will give you another scale, which will help you. Here's one of my baby knights, if you will, and here's this guy. Whilst the knight itself is taller, the cockpit is literally facing the face part of the Dreadnought. And the Dreadnought is obviously substantially bigger, substantially bulkier. So these guys are huge and not to be underestimated. They still play like Dreadnoughts, but they're really awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. Not sure why, but I am. So if you like it, see me there, and please tell your friends. Thanks very much. Bye.